Should I be working all year
Mhm.
to go on to holidays, or should I spend the whole season in the mountains and pick the nice powder days or the bluebirds? Like, I know which one I would pick, but I cannot decide that for other people, right?
Welcome. I'm your host, Martijn Smeets, mental health trainer for entrepreneurs, and in this podcast, Redefine Success, Unscripted Stories, we'll dive into raw, unfiltered stories of people breaking the mold to inspire you to let go of the societal pressure and norm of success. And if you love what you hear, then drop a review and make sure to check out the Thrive Tribe, a community where personal and professional well-being comes together. Let's dive into it. So welcome, Gina. So cool to have you here. I remember like we got connected. Now, to be honest, I don't remember where we got connected, but we got connected and we set up a virtual coffee, and I instantly noticed a lot of energy, and I love that. I love talking to people, that bring so much energy into conversation. So, when like with this podcast coming up, you and like everything that you were doing, definitely I found it so interesting to bring you on here because you've been working for LinkedIn for a little while. What is definitely the space for entrepreneurs, where also a space where just like any other social media, where people love to show off how successful they are, even though in the real world they might not always feel that way. So in that sense, also aligned with this. You also recently stepped away from that, going into driftwear, creating workations, working B2B to create experiences for entrepreneurs, for businesses, for many different reasons. So yeah, like welcome. Super excited to have you here and super excited to dive deeper into your story, Gina.
Thank you so much for having me, Martijn. And likewise. So yeah, I believe I actually found you through Instagram and then reached out. Then we had the one-on-one coffee chat. We got the blog feature, and here we are today. So yeah, really great what you're doing. I'm still looking forward to meet your community in an actual meetup, but I believe that's soon about to come. A little bit about my background. So, born and raised in the Netherlands. Somehow always had the drive um, to travel abroad, and I guess my dad planted the seed to start a company eventually one day. I think he actually said it to shut me up. If you have something to complain, you go and live in another country and set up your own company. So I figured that was a great idea. But basically, so what I've done is the past 13 years, I've spent a lot of time abroad doing so many different things, which we can share a little bit more about. And then actually, I was a travel agent prior to COVID in Australia and New Zealand, a job I truly loved so much. But then obviously the pandemic happened. One way ticket home to get a call out to the super yachts, which was quite exciting, as you can imagine. And then through a referral, I ended up working at LinkedIn, which actually, yes, spiraled me to complete different levels because all of a sudden I was speaking with startup, mid-market, even global enterprise companies throughout all lines of the business, from talent acquisition to HR managers, chief technological officers, CEOs, founders. I truly love speaking with the founders because you just get that spark of energy, right? The passion, the vision. But when I moved to larger companies, I really loved how they approach things so strategically, and you could really see, when there was like a game player in place. Um, Companies also, yeah, they focus a lot of attention towards company culture, which is quite interesting. How do you get the best out of people? How do you put the right people together? So it's been such an interesting journey, even long after now, an incredible network of talented people on a global scale, who I still touch base with, to brainstorm, share stories, travel together, or even get like links for business opportunities. So truly, yeah, actually, You can call it another life-changing experience. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, and like I love to hear a little bit of that because there are already some things I didn't know about you from being the travel agent, and then like also just as like throwing it in there very quickly, Gina is not all too long. We haven't coming out with a specific date yet. Gonna host a workshop around LinkedIn and how to thrive on LinkedIn within the Thrive Tribe. So if that's something you're interested in, check the link in the description, and you'll be able to find all the information there. But nonetheless, like, we will dive deeper into your story and kind of go over the steps and like see what you needed to come to where you are today, to feel that success in life. Like, because one thing that you said there is it was probably your dad that planted the seed to start your own company. Like, I'm from Belgium, very close to the Dutch border. So I feel like our cultures of like the people surrounding us were probably similar to how we were raised. So let's just start off like when you were a kid, or when you were being raised, when you were coming into adulthood. What did success mean to you when you were thinking about a successful life? Then what were you picturing for yourself?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough question. I think it all starts with curiosity, probably grit as well, right? So, what are your passions? It doesn't mean you naturally have to be born with those passions. You learn about those by exploring, by talking with other people, by getting out there. And then obviously you can tie goals towards what you would like to achieve. But I think it can also, like, your surroundings can be very limiting in certain ways, because everybody has a different opinion, different morals, different values. So what's right for one person might not be right for another person. And obviously, yeah, I guess once you start going after your goals, um, you can get a lot of judgment from people because it's outside of their like common beliefs. Whereas if you break free, goosebumps. If you break free, that kind of becomes the new norm, and you get to meet all these different people that have that similar vision, or you learn about new different things. Um, so if you then look back so many years back, like, I wouldn't have had it on any other way. It's been completely life changing, like for you probably as well. You live in the mountains. I lived and worked in a ski resort in Austria as well, and I still see it like one of my homes. I still visit the place regularly, catching up with my local friends. And yeah, officially I should have been making a career, right? But should I be working all year
Mhm.
to go on to holidays, or should I spend the whole season in the mountains and pick the nice powder days or the bluebirds? Like, I know which one I would pick, but I cannot decide that for other people, right?
Nah, 100%. And, that is definitely, of course, the narrative that we want to spread out there with this podcast of go and create your own way of success, right? Because there's no one right or wrong. Like everyone has to figure out, because you throw the words in there, like look at your norms, your values, and like how I translate that for myself is align the ideal life you're creating for yourself with those norms and values. But of course, as we know, like like you said, there's judgment. We all feel societal pressure. Like for example, I know for myself, my parents they have chosen a very safe option in their life, and like for them, they're happy with it. They went to a job. My dad was in the military for 40 years. Like, but of course, that translated to me of them wanting me to choose for that safe option, instead of going out there and doing everything that I'm doing today, what is not always seen as a safe option when it comes to finances, pension, and all of that shabam. Like when you look at yourself, that you always knew that you were going to be an entrepreneur, that you were going to step outside of the societal norm, or like did you feel that societal pressure of being successful? How was that for you when you look you know at the start of your journey at first?
Ooh, the pressure is terrible. The funniest thing happened because obviously I traveled so long. I would get questions from people, even people that I met being abroad. Are you going away again? But actually, some of those people, they turn around years later, actually admitting their own fears, saying, "Oh my God, like what you're, I would never dare what you're doing. It must be so cool, all these places that you're visiting or the things that you're doing." And that obviously gives you a whole different perspective. But those things can come years down the line, right? I mean, even if you look at successful entrepreneurs, like it's the journey there. It's not an overnight success. Um, so it definitely
But
comes in waves.
if 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 I can interrupt there, because you say that it's a journey, it's not the way there. What is success for an entrepreneur in your
What
opinion?
is a successful entrepreneur? I think being resilient, have a clear goal, but being able to kind of like move with the wind and the waves. Because yeah, things turn out very differently in many cases um, than you were expecting prior when you started. So I'm a big fan of a lean and mean approach. And then kind of find your way. And some people might make it there quicker, and other might take a little longer. And it's truly incredible as well, like the world of entrepreneurs. When you speak with someone who isn't an entrepreneur, it's more like you're taking them along on the journey. And when you speak with another entrepreneur, um, you share those beliefs, the challenges, and I find it truly inspiring that everybody tries to help each other. So, for example, I don't know how I got like maybe even over 10 mentors or sparring partners or people advising me on things. And actually, I said to my friend who I used to study together with, he's actually a very successful entrepreneur. He's exited one of his companies and now started another one, also helping a lot of young entrepreneurs. And I said to him, like, whoa, how lucky I am. And he said to me, he's like, that's not luck, Gina. That's something that you have created because you have a really great energy. And that's something you created by getting out there, by speaking with the people, by asking for it. And it's like, well, that's a great way to look at it. But at the same time, like you said it, you praised me for my energy, and I've been praised a lot now for my energy. Um, but when I was younger, I've been punished for it, right? I was too loud. I was too active. I was too much all over the place. I was doing too many things. And now all of a sudden, whoo, I can be a creative generalist. And I realized that energy can mean something in time and space. But also, how can you embrace those strengths and turn it into something positive? It's the same, like, got so much to do with expectations. Sometimes when you talk to a stranger on the street, they're like, why are you talking to me? Whereas if, let's say, when I was working on the beach in hospitality, um, somebody would walk in, they would expect me to welcome them, right? And I would try my best to give them the best time they could ever have, because that's the reason why they come there, right? It's something that a lot of people can relate to, I imagine. And once you break free from those limiting thoughts, especially doing like sales out in the streets in Australia, it started. Um, it's incredible what can happen. Like, I've made lifelong friends hustling, bustling, touting out at the street. Um, Even people that didn't want to buy from me, and they ended up buying whole East Coast packages, being so happy. People sending me postcards. I even sent people out to the reef. They didn't want to go diving. They thought it was super scary. They ended up going, and they would come back and be like, well, is there still some space in my in my schedule? Because I really, really want to learn how to get good at this. I really love the experience. So yeah, it's so important to get out there. That's why travel is so incredible as well.
Of like a big thing that I hear in that part of the story, what I think is very, very beautiful and very inspiring for lots of people is what something that was first seen as your weakness, you know, your way too much energy. First of all, I think in a school system, everyone that can't sit still behind a desk for 8 hours a day has way too much energy. So I think there's a big misconception there. But nonetheless, that weakness is now your strength. You didn't necessarily put it away into a little box, and you still kept on using that, and that now has become one of your strengths because you've been complimented around it. You were, very good at the sales in the travel agencies in New Zealand and Australia. And now, like, I know, like, because obviously you're not the first person that I've met with this kind of energy, but the people with this kind of energy, very often they're very good at connecting with people because they just bring a lot to the table, to talk about. And I think that is such a big strength. And so, and such a beautiful part of your journey as well, and what I believe can get you very far with the new endeavors that you're taking now with Driftaware. But I'd love to dive a little deeper in what you said before. When I asked you, what does it mean to be a successful entrepreneur? You talked about, a little bit vague around taking the opportunity, about being resilient. And then you said, I've met some really successful entrepreneurs. I'd love to hear your opinion on what, let's call it, what kind of a checkpoint does someone have to go through to then be a successful entrepreneur, to be from an entrepreneur to be a successful entrepreneur? What is where do you, how would you differentiate that?
I mean, that's such a hard question, right? Because what is it? 7 out of 10 businesses fail. But is it then actually a failure? It's a big failure if you believe it is, or if you don't step up. I've been following this community as well. They interview a lot of successful, well-loaded entrepreneurs, and very often they ask them, "Have you been bankrupt?" And most of them respond like, "Yes." And it just depends. Like, do you stand up again? For me personally, it's been so scary to start. I had a massive imposter. I actually worked with a business coach towards an MVP. And she take me along. She's like, "We're gonna do this thing. Like, what do you also envision your life to be like? Not just the company, but what do you want your life to look like?" Um, but also, okay, who would be your ideal client, your avatar, but who would absolutely not be? And that person is where the judgment is, right? So she called it an avatar. And again, goosebumps, because like I found it so scary, and those were the people that I actually felt the judgment the strongest from. Whereas I would just go past, right? I'm gonna go in a complete different track and separate myself from all of that. So that was a very big learning. And then realizing one step in, another step in, soon it becomes impossible to return, because there are so many steps into entrepreneurship that you maybe never even thought of, that those are things that you're going to be doing, right? Like, even, for example, right now, I have someone helping me with my strategic PR, because I actually inspired her to start a company focused on this, because she has 10 years of PR experience. And she realized, like, oh, okay, this awareness in a new age, there must be a lot more people like, who are struggling with this, or where she can contribute with her value and skills to create value, right? So now all of a sudden I'm doing all these things that I didn't imagine I was going to be doing. Yeah, it's quite scary. So right now I'm preparing to uh, apply to pitch on stage 40 words that are maybe going to be exposed throughout the whole venue of the Web Summit, which is a tech event where 70,000, this year they're hoping to expect 75,000 people within the tech scene are coming together. And that I visited last year, and I didn't really know what to expect, but I felt like this is like one of those hot spots that I need to go and check out. And I just naturally felt the attraction and energy. Is like, something is happening here, especially coming from tech in Dublin, where it's also originating from. Um, and then we walked past the stage with someone who actually genuinely changed my life, Esther von Toledo. She's an executive coach, very much on manifesting, leadership of the heart, energies as well. She told me about the book The Power, which I then read. I thought they were all goof and crazy when it told me about these life changing happenings. And it actually, things like this started happening to me as well over those 10 years after. But we were walking past the stage together. I asked her to join. And then when we walked past the pitching stage, she said to me, "Next year, you're going to be standing on stage there." And I kind of just laughed it off. And I was like, no way, right? And it's like this little imposter that's sitting on your shoulder, like trying to keep you small. What if I fail, right? What would people think? Who am I to think that I belong there? And then as you grow into, I guess, your role of an entrepreneur by doing, not because you're not it when you're not doing it, you learn it by becoming, right? And then a few months ago, I was like, I put on my naughty shoes, as we say in the Netherlands, right? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply. Team. Kind of have an extended team, 2 to 4. Funded. Yes, definitely self-funded. And I couldn't believe it. Like I went to the kitchen after launching the application, and within 5 minutes, I got an invite. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Um, and then obviously scheduled the call, but I didn't want to leave it to the unknown. I was like, okay, speaking with other people that I knew that had been there, what can I expect? How can I manage this and be prepared? And so people told me, oh, okay, you need to have some sort of tech in there. Okay, how am I going to solve this? I don't have tech in there. Um, and so then through a person that I met at an investor event there last year, he connected me with another person and then explained that I can basically just install some tech software on my website and it will be tech, like problem solved. Yeah. And then obviously, I guess with my years of experience in sales, like you probably know, like sales is not like the stereotype push that you think it is. It's more so about a great discovery and understanding what people want or like finding, triggering those desires, right? And and so I went into that conversation again open, and again I try to stay in this positive energy because it can be so dangerous to slip into such a negative spiral. I don't know if you ever experienced that, but for me, then it kind of creates like a domino effect. So try to avoid that. Went in that positive. Had a phenomenal chat with this guy, like, and I just started asking questions, and then yeah, literally after he said like, "No, your remote is a big part of the world of tech, and we'd love to have your energy there, especially confirmed after this call." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." But then again, like that was the one goal then. So that was success. But now there's a new goal again tied to it. So again, the waves. Yeah.
But congratulations on that, first of all, because that's not a small achievement. And you know, like you say, it didn't came out of nothing. You created that opportunity, right? And I think because you came up with this beautiful and inspiring story when asking like, oh, when is an entrepreneur successful? Because you're 100% right. There are so many different levels to it. But something that you've brought up quite a few times in this conversation now, and you know, that is really something like something really strong I want to give the people through every episode. It's not just about I've achieved this as an entrepreneur, I've made this much money, I've helped this many people. Because you talked at first when we are talking a little bit about me living in the mountains, that you said I did a winter season and I chose not to choose the job where I can go on holiday twice a year, but actually to go and live there on that season. You chose to go to Australia and New Zealand to be a travel agent. Now, that COVID happened, like what now already I notice in your story, you actively look for opportunities. And I personally believe that that is a very, very big and important skill to create your own unique way of a successful life. You know, like being content is good, but doesn't mean that we should start standing still. Because just here, what you're saying of there is this tech event and you're amazed by this event, and then someone says to you next year you're going to speak there. Probably 90% of the people would be like, ah, yeah, that's not going to happen. But you actually went out there, like the event was coming up. You reached out, you took the opportunity. Okay, I need to have tech. Well, that's a problem. So many people again would have probably said, I don't have tech, it's not right for me. Or I don't have a tech company, it's not right for me. Whatever the reason. Instead, you went out there, looked for the solution and created that opportunity for yourself. And you know, I say that very often of you need to create the direction of the change that you want to have for yourself. So, but to know what change you want to create, you first need to know. Because I love this is something I ask my clients very often as well. What you said there that the executive coach or your business coach asked you, not just what kind of business do you want, but what is the kind of life that you want? Because that is the part that comes back for you as well. Like, okay, what can I do that is going to help me create the life that I want? And because I think it was a few days ago that you sent me that video on LinkedIn. I never responded to it. I'm sorry, I did see it. But it's like I think it's a very inspiring way of looking at it because it was just how did it go? It was just someone saying, like you're successful, or some people are going to judge you for being arrogant. You're this. Like someone is always going to judge you. So it's about becoming aware of whose opinion do I actually care about. Because the people that I don't want to help, the people that are very misaligned with me, I don't care about their opinion because they don't, they're not aligned with it. Their opinion is not going to help me or anyone, me forward. And, that's something I just really wanted to, put the spotlight on of, yes, you are where you are today because what lots of people would call luck, but you've created so many of those opportunities.
I will tell you about a moment where I nearly kind of slacked, but it's truly turned into where I actually am today. Another example. So I went to Australia. I had the expectation like I'm gonna make loads of money there. Well, turned out my body was a bit broken, just
In
being in the mountains. Then in hospitality, I completely um mistreated my body. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to carry my backpack to Australia, but I was going there. And then because I had finished my degree, but I hadn't done the actual office job to claim the experience. And instead of mingling in with other people, I was kind of trying to stay away and try to find a job online, which wasn't very successful. And at some point, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to do the things that I want to do. And then I'm just going to go to Bali. So I went to dive this shipwreck, which is phenomenal, by the way. Yongala, epic, epic spot. Um, but um, I would have asked someone for a ride, and then the guys. So this is like your surroundings can matter so much. Who you hang out with, or who you speak with, or who you're inspired by. Because these guys were like, "Oh yeah, no, I would just book a bus ticket because you never know." Whereas I would have asked, "Is somebody going to Cairns or Magnetic Island and then hop on a ride?" Which is more fun in general, anyways, right? But because they said like, "Oh, just book a bus ticket in case," I kind of already gave up in my mind. But then the next morning, the craziest thing happened. So the guys ended up about to be leaving to the dive for that day, and I was supposed to go with the bus a few hours later. And all of a sudden, this fit Aussie comes and runs at me and goes like, "Are you looking for a ride to Cairns?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" So yeah, so I skipped the bus. I waited till he was ready, and then as we're driving back to Cairns, um, it turned out that he used to work on an overnight cruise on the Great Barrier Reef, and they just missed out. One person already quit, basically like the hotel manager on the water. But then another one quit as well. So they were looking for someone immediately. So basically, what then happened, I literally moved into the house with them in Cairns. All of a sudden, I was living in this incredible house with pool, jungle views, kookaburras with the morning coffee. Like the bird sounds a bit like monkeys. And I was I was seeing the operations officer um, before I even had breakfast, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna be sent out there tomorrow. You're gonna stay on after your trial. You're staying on for a week." I was like, "Okay." And the guy's like, "You're ready to take care of us?" And everybody's like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And I was still not entirely sure. And then I ended up managing, um, like pretty much like a hotel, like welcoming guests, goodbye briefings, the whole cleaning aspect of the room's organization, the whole bar, the restaurant kitchen numbers, communicating conditions, and special happenings of the day towards the office. So many things. And then in the same house, one of the guys was seeing a girl who was a travel consultant. So then she threw in a good word for me. And so I ended up working at the travel company, which I did over 2 years, split between two countries. Um, and like, then again, what does success look like? Did I get the pay like an office job when could be making a career that could send me out abroad? But in reality, I've done over 100 dives on the Great Barrier Reef. I've been diving where David Attenborough is. I've seen sharks being fed tuna, right? Like bright, bright fan corals at 24 meters deep. There's not a lot of people that have seen it because it's very unique, right? And I've done like probably 52K in dollars worth of trips, like skydives, bungees, travel around New Zealand. And like sometimes when I tell people all the things that I've done, they just look at me like how old are you because it's almost impossible to do that. And I think at the end of the day, that kind of is where people work for as well. But also, I believe throughout time, like your goals can change as well, right? So I really leveraged that period to explore and learn more about the world around me and what's possible, right? So you kind of unlimited belief became rooted. Um, but now, for example, founding Driftaway or prior working at LinkedIn, I've come to a complete different level, learning all these new things like what's possible in tech and how can you work smart and got completely obsessed with the future of work. So obviously work remote, travel background, workations. And then obviously I can contribute by helping these people because these people that were in the office, all of a sudden with COVID, they were able to work remote from anywhere. And this was like a freedom that they had never experienced, right? Which was very special. So I take really big pride in their um, being able to deliver that value so that they can also get these sparks of life, right? And are not just tied to an office. So yeah, but again, then I started with a fun project, right? It started with the thought like, oh, it's quite hard to, yeah, go and do this all together. Like, who's going to be organizing it? And then I started up. Well, I thought I'd start small, but all of a sudden it, it was still niche, it was still new, and not everybody knew what it was. And all of a sudden, I was forced to set up a tour operator. It's like, oh, hi, imposter, who am I? To set up a tour operator. And then I started B2C, and yeah, it was so scary. But then people got so excited about it, but it was such a challenge to be able like you have to think about a lot of things when you found a company, right? And it's not like I'm bootstrapped. So it's not like I have unlimited funds. It's a very high ramp in general with bills of thousands of euros. And so I figured, okay, I kind of want to pivot with a stronger focus on B2B and delivering value or collaborating with communities based on like their objectives or their challenges and really bring all the magic together, so to say. But I felt really it again, like it was one of those blocks on the road to kind of start communicating that as well. Um, because uh, uh, people got so excited. They were supporting me, but all of a sudden I was there disappointing them, right? Yeah. So it it's a journey. It's a journey for sure.
Um, but that's the beauty of it, I think, when you say it's a journey, because like because this morning I was a guest speaker on someone else's podcast, and it was all about the art of pivoting. And in that whole story that you just explained, I saw so many aspects that I talked about this morning coming back into this of doing something, but then, for you, when with the travel agency in Australia, you said before, then COVID happened. Well, you pivoted, you went back, you looked for the new opportunity, LinkedIn, or whatever happened there. You pivoted and started Drift Wave. And then you noticed that B2C, wasn't really aligned or wasn't feeling or going the way that you wanted to. You pivoted to B2B. And I'm sure, like, before you're going to be where you want to be. Well, I believe before you are where you want to be, you already have a new where you want to be. So, you're never truly going to get where you want to be. Um, but like, before you're at that next step, let's put it that way, you're already going to have at least another one pivot somewhere in your business. Doesn't know, or like life as well. It doesn't always have to be a massive one, but we need to pivot in life. And I think that's, something that I hear you say regularly as well. Because you're saying, yes, you have all the experiences, because I've the same thing. Like, right after my school years, I went traveling for 5 years. I worked all over a little bit, did lots of different jobs. Whereas, people like many people go on a holiday 1 or 2 weeks a year, and, they do those kind of things in 2 weeks, or you can go and create the life where you can combine your work and do that. And I think that's the beauty of what you did there. And, I think that, like, just really something that I want people to take away from all of that is really the art of not just that pivoting, but really the creating the opportunities and seeing the opportunities and allowing yourself to pivot. Because, like, if I may ask, because, like, of course, you said that Corona happened. You did the travel agencies happened. You did onto LinkedIn. That was
Yeah, so though, yeah, we went full lockdown New Zealand. We got repatriated, and then a few months in, I wanted to be out at sea. I thought it. I didn't look for it because we had all heard the news with the stranded cruise ships and yachts and everything. I just wanted to be out on the water because the land was fucked. And I wanted to make heaps of hours and smash cash. But I thought, limitably, not possible. 2 months later, got a phone call. I'm not even joking. My friend called me. Hey, Gina, we were talking about you 1.5 years prior, but you weren't there. Um, they are looking for people on the super yachts again. Do you want to come and join? And I was like, absolutely 100% yes. So all of a sudden I was like, well, I actually can't really speak about it, but let's put it like that. It was one of those experiences like, wow, like many people think about below deck. I think it's a little bit more crazy than that even. But for me, like, yeah, it's an experience. It was also definitely a trade-off for my time. Like, I was working a lot, and when I would wake up, my feet would hurt. So I also switched to a sailing yard in between, to have, like, yeah, one day of exploration, and they have the experience. But again, like, I think, like, again, success, right? People expect you to do your studies, especially where we come from, do your studies, get a job, climb the career ladder, and then you'll be successful. And yeah, I was probably paid less than I could have been in other jobs that I had. Whereas, for example, at the beach, I would work so many hours that I made more money than I would have had. And then I came from actually not such a great wage in New Zealand, and with the conditions of nature at that time, wasn't the best year to be a travel consultant there. Like, COVID, mudslides, ashes from Australia, East Coast on fire. Like, good luck. We still ended up smashing records that broke the daily shop record, which was outstanding. Um, but my wage wasn't really great there, to be honest. And life is very expensive in Queenstown. But this was the experience, right? This is like a once in a lifetime. And then well, I ended up on the super yards and working at LinkedIn. And I do must admit, these are times where I was definitely working double job. But all of a sudden, at times in months, I was making salaries like 10 up to 14K. Well, obviously you still have to pay taxes, but realistically, would I have followed the career track? Would I have made that salary? Potentially never in my life. And now that's like again my new belief of possibilities, but also, okay, I I don't earn much now, right? I actually invest a lot of money. Where is it going to go? Who knows? But I already know that it was, even if I lose all my money today, it's been worth the investment and the adventure because the people that I've been speaking with, the network that I've been building, um, the grid that I was able to explore. I've already won by the time I quit my job at LinkedIn because I was doing double jobs, setting up this company, Drift Away. Um, I by the time I quit my job, probably in the worst moment ever. Um, since that time, over the next few months, I actually got for maybe subtle or realistic job offers from entrepreneurs. And obviously, would I have not taken all these steps, I would not have been developing certain type of skills or being able to showcase them. And then it would leave me in a complete different space in life, right? And I do genuinely believe there are different people that like get joy and satisfaction or have better talents in certain areas. And so I think it's important we can complement each other. Realistically, when I was just thinking like, what is success? Then I think actually success, at least for me personally, I'd be curious to hear you out. But for me, it would be, I think alignment and gratitude.
Love that. Can you dive a little deeper on what that means to you, alignment and gratitude?
Yeah, I find because Ty said it to me the other day as well, like that I'm kind of a person, I naturally follow my heart and amazing things have come out of that. Like, would I have done something different there or there? Things would have gone very different, right? Because my life is like all over the world, literally. Um, so whenever yeah, there are definitely moments where when I'm not in alignment, I can have a very strong opinion and I will feel terrible. So for me, it's better to align then and jump in a deep and maybe fail and then come to complete different levels than like live a life of regrets and never trying. And then obviously because of all these things that happened on the road, like so much magic happened. Like I can't believe it. Like I lived in Aruba. I was on my Sunday. We were taking the horse swimming in the ocean. Um, I've done all these crazy things that I never imagined. Like I've been in the weirdest places, had the weirdest experiences. And again, it's been an understatement how much you can find if you open yourself up to opportunity.
Yes. Yes, Gina, because that's such a big statement. How much can happen if you open your life to opportunities? Like I 100% align with, resonate and align with your vision of success, and that's why this podcast, obviously, redefine success because it's all about aligning your life with you and, who is you. Like we've dove very deep into this with in other podcasts about like your value. Like you talked about it a little bit in the beginning, your values, what's important to you and align your life to that. And that is, in my opinion, a successful life. And then of course, like you say, being grateful for it as well, because we just said it, you know, there's always going to be the next thing. Cause that's like definitely every entrepreneur that's listening, like for sure, you're not an entrepreneur if you're not always thinking about what's next. There's always, you want to create something more. You want to help that one person. You want to, do something else. That's that's for me like one of the core parts of being an entrepreneur. But it's so important to be grateful for what you have today and, to be able to enjoy all of that. And I think, or, that's at least my opinion, that that's what a successful life is as well, that alignment and that gratitude or that gratefulness of what you have today and what you were able to create today. Because you've been saying it again, or like you said it a few times now, they were at the sales job, you weren't making that much money, but you were having experiences and you were growing a skill in sales. Because it is definitely something that we need to learn. And then after that, at the yachting, the super yacht job, I have a few friends that work on super yachts, and I know it's really hard work. You also get paid very well, of course, but it's really hard work. It's long
Mhm.
hours, and then depending on the host, it can shift your complete experience as well. But you went through it, you made that money, and like, to be honest, look at that opportunity. Everyone was sitting at home complaining there was nothing to do, and you found a job that was actually gonna pay you very well, whilst other people were economically jobless because of it. Look at that solution-focused thinking, or opportunist thinking. Like, I don't know what the correct word is here, but finding or creating those opportunities. And then, yes, you did that double work and you made that money, but now it's just all about, and this is what I see being a step for you now. Okay, I've spent so much time traveling, learning about myself, about what I want, about the world, about entrepreneurs, learning about sales, learning about hosting. And because I think like that's a very underestimated skill very often, like working in hospitality, you gain so much like communication skills with people, how to deal with difficult people, definitely on super yachts, or how to deal with very rich people, how to make them like you because, building that network is so, so important. And now it's like you combining all of these skills into this opportunity because so often there's people that think, okay, this is my successful life. Like, this is what I want. How can I create this right now? And I'm also going to say it's not possible, but it might be very, very difficult. You might have to, make a few detours like yourself of going to New Zealand and, learning about sales there and like doing the hard work. Cause like, yeah, sales jobs definitely in those places. You said it was the worst time. I was in Australia when Corona happened. I was in Australia with the bushfires and man, it was not pretty. Like definitely for tourism was the worst time ever. So like, again, like massive feat for you to create that. But you had to go through all these little detours to go to where you are
Mm.
today. And that I think is such an inspiring part for people to hear of, okay, right now I might not be where I am my ideal world. You might not even know what your ideal life is. But no matter where you are right now, as long as you keep on reflecting of, are you aligned, what you just said? And if you keep on thinking, what is the next opportunity for me? If you constantly ask yourself those questions, no matter where you are right now, you are learning something. You might not realize what it is in this moment, but you're learning something that is going to help you later in that journey. And I think that is so, 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 so important for people to realize.
Yeah, I think it's a great outline you mentioned there about what a great school of life, so to say, hospitality is, because it really teaches you how to turn something negative into something positive or create a lot out of something, right? I mean, well, when I was working on the Noda, I had this Italian colleague, Camilo. He was amazing. And when the guests would arrive, he would tell me, Gina, please bring these people to the most beautiful table that we have. And then obviously I would bring them and I would come back and he's like, shh, don't tell them all the tables we have are the most beautiful. And it's just the way how you look at it, and how you turn those conversations. Also in sales, like you'll get so many no's. I remember starting out and the sale went like that. And I was like, my manager took over and all of a sudden the conversation switched completely. And I was like, how on earth did he do that? And then once you start to get better in that, like, yeah, I think, yeah. building those skills are tremendous. It brings you in complete different places in life because at the end of the day, we're all dealing with people every day. Well, if we choose to, we could. Sometimes we can take a time out, but
Yeah, but I think that's true because I've done hospitality since I was 15. Like, I don't know, I still do hospitality sometimes if someone asks me for something, just because I still actually enjoy doing it as well. Like I wouldn't do it as a full-time job anymore. Like that time has passed. But just to help out sometimes and have that experience and like I love, it's also why I do what I do. I love being of service, and of service doesn't always have to be I'm gonna change that person's life completely. It can literally be I'm gonna have that person enjoy their stay here today or their good evening or uh but it's what you say, it's those simple skills that can go so much further than we ever thought they would. Because when I signed up to work in a catering company, I didn't know that that was actually going to help me talking to people on, events and, because you said everything is talking to people. Everything is communication with people in the end, no matter where you are in business. So
it's even it's
yeah,
still it's also something that can even follow you around for a long time because if I think about my friend who got me a referral into LinkedIn, so basically I had informal calls with managers before even applying for the role, and then got trained, and they were so supportive. But I met him, my friend Remco, um, because he was a guest in a restaurant and befriended my managers and entrepreneurs. And that's how we met. And then we always stayed in touch as my lifelong friend. Like actually this weekend I went to visit him and his wife and the baby. Um, so yeah, opportunity comes from that also. Just before leaving Dublin, I got a phone call because of a couple who were once, I believe even just once, they have been my guests at Mango's Beach Bar in Zandvoort. And we always stayed in touch. And I thought they were just the most amazing people. And obviously they saw something in me as well. And then they ended up having a new neighbor who was like a serial entrepreneur, has got different companies. He's like, okay, I'm looking for this one person with this personality for this type of business. And then the couple, the wife Sasha's went like, Gina, straight out, Gina. And so all of a sudden I got put in touch with these entrepreneurs. So you never really know where opportunity arises. Even now, I'm thinking about maybe setting up some entrepreneurial event and I would reach out to the beach bar where I've been working or because my now best friend was working at the neighbors in the same place prior. Their family owns like a cultural event space in Leiden. And I would just approach him and be like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this thing. Do you think we can leverage your location for it? And obviously then position it as like a win, 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 win for all sides. And all of a sudden, again, you're creating opportunity by putting different thoughts or people together or speak.
exactly. Because, another very good point you make there, it's freaking talk about it. Talk about what you want, what you're looking for, even though if the idea might not be completely worked out, like talk about it because like you said, that the other person said to your neighbor, I'm looking for a person like this or like this or like this. Well, it's because that person was asking. And like the same goes for you. If you are looking for someone, something, whether it's a job, a person, a connection, a location for an event you want to organize, whatever it may be, you're going to have to talk about it to find it. And you don't only have to go through official job agencies because so many people know so many things, but they don't know that they know it until they're asked about it. And then all of a sudden, that memory sparks up again. So no, I love that share. And I love like adding that another valuable point on top of that, Gina.
I
Uh,
think also
I think that's a bit
the I think the hardest yet most rewarding thing in life is to figure out what you want. And then your vision becomes focused on that. You absorb all the things that matter. But somehow again, this energy starts working the other way around as well. Yeah. I think that magic happens.
100%. 100%. And, I think That's what I said a few times. It's not just the life that you want. Get clear on the business that you want. Get clear whatever that you want, but get clear on what you want, and then, like you say, the magic starts to happen the moment you get truly clear on it. Like so far, this has been amazing already. I want to give a little bit of, space for you as well to talk a little bit about what you're doing. So first of all, like, okay, now you're working on Drift
Mhm,
Away.
correct.
Tell us a little bit. What is that? What are the next goal when it comes to this for you?
Okay, yeah. So basically, it's a tour operator with a specific niche in workations and offsites. And because it's a tour operator, I can put together anything that I want, which you can imagine. This is something I'm so excited about being an entrepreneur because you can just let your creativity flow and think in endless possibilities. Um, and so I'm basically going to be working with companies, but really focused also on helping them, right? This is something I definitely learned during my time at LinkedIn to understand what are, for example, the company's objectives, what are their challenges, and then how can we kind of like put solutions in space that could lift them to complete different levels. Also, the same like when it was B2C, there were different narratives, right? Like pull people out of their 9 to 5 or get them to network, grow together, etc. Um, but so, for example, now what I'm looking at is like to create more customized packages for startups and scale ups, mostly remote first companies um, based on their challenges. So one can be innovation and strategic community building, which can then lead to increased success, ROI, both internally in the company, but also externally. Yeah, there's tremendous examples, but it can even lead up to, for example, increased chances on getting VC, right? Because those goals are in alignment with steps and processes. Um, then another one's leadership of the heart, obviously, big believer in it. Leadership is becoming more important. There's so much external pressure, especially when you're a leader. Like, how do you deal with that? How do you manage internal, external stakeholders? So that's a big one. Sometimes it's can because it can get so noisy. It can be hard to listen to your inner, especially when you're a visionaire. You you have to try and stick on that path and shut down the noise, right? Then another one is growth hacking. Because what's that? We live in a completely crazy era, right? Like, what's going on with AI? I said it before, like, Steve Jobs got us what? All the songs of the world in our pocket. And now OpenAI has basically got us a world brain in a pocket that apparently is already smarter than the average human today. But this comes with challenges. There's a lot of disruption but also new strategies. So the growth hacking can be focused on how right are these KPIs still in line with what you were doing, or do they need adjusting? Do you want to explore new tools? Do you want to brainstorm about creative strategies and get inspired in a new location? But also, for example, something I find really intriguing is dark social, right? So you have like the stand-up marketing. I guess it also comes, I had a natural attraction to guerrilla marketing, like a bit of the unexpected. And dark social can be like planting different seeds in places where you don't necessarily think it is. Let's say a certain blog that then becomes some sort of engine to attract towards your business, or certain like types of energy or common shared beliefs that then kind of build a foundation for you to be a trusted partner to do business with, so to say. Um, so I find all of that very interesting, and that would, yeah, it would be kind of growth hacking as well, right? Instead of purchasing all these ad budgets, you're looking at creative ways to create value. So that would be well, and I guess also big aspect of dark social is actual reviews online, right? What are people saying, and then turn those reviews into positive value towards your clients, or business objectives. And then the third one, very important as well, is team building and company culture, like bringing those in-person sparks, camaraderie, really like embed trust in your organization. You can ensure that everybody understands the vision, where are you headed, what are the strategies, but also to celebrate. I think that's a very important aspect as well. Um, and then I'm actually speaking with Tom, who's really incredible. He's a coach. We met recently at a business event, which, yeah, I was actually lucky enough to sponsor with Drift Away, which is quite cool. Great vibes. Um, and so there I met Tom. And he actually coaches companies. He's been an entrepreneur himself as well, and still is, I guess. But he loves building in rituals. So I'm really excited. What is it, in 1 or 2 weeks, he's going to come back with me with a certain outline. Again, this is something I really love about like creating things, like experience. I think it's like some of a red line throughout my whole life when I was working on the yards. Like I really love, I don't, it's like the creative burst. I love doing the table. We had this big room filled with decoration. And I remember the first time I was allowed to do it, I turned it into some mermaid paradise with these big silver candles, and you can choose different colors of rocks and sand. And I just loved it. And I feel like that with building these packages now as well. And at the end of the day, like, it's also again like, what would they be expecting out of, what are their goals, and to make sure that aligns with what they're offering, creating value. And then ideally, obviously, the best is to over deliver and blow them away, because yeah, they,
Cool.
yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. That there's a lot there. When I hear drift away, fun and customized value packed, and I think that's an important thing because very often, people offer these packages. This is what I offer, and I think the customized approach is, well, something that might not be seen enough because everyone has different needs. And definitely when it comes to these companies, really asking that, what are you looking for to get out of that? And then just with your creative mind, and definitely like one of your big superpowers with all the connections that you have, I'm sure you will create an amazing thing out of it. So, here, like just a big shout out to everyone who has a company, who knows someone that, or is working at a company that where you feel like, oh, they might need a little bit better, like company culture, anything like that. Gina might be the right person to talk to. So, yeah, that's amazing. I love that share because I knew a little bit about it, but like I love hearing, like knowing a little bit more about it. And I'll definitely advocate for you for that, Gina.
yeah, you find
Two more
back.
questions. Two more questions, if I may, because this is one that I ask everyone. What puts you on the spot a little bit? Some people struggle answering it. If you would have to write a dictionary definition, a textbook definition for success, so it can't be like, short, concise, complete. How would that be?
Get yourself a dictionary description, like the Van Dalen style.
Exactly. Yeah.
um, um, explore, express yourself, um, create resilience, grit, and practice gratitude.
Love that. It's different than what we've had before. So explore, express yourself, be grateful, and create resilience. And those are the four magic ingredients that Gina is, offering to you for creating your successful life. Love that. So then, the last one, of course, before we close off, if people want to know more about you, want to know more about Drift Aware, Drift Away, sorry, where can they find you? All the links will be in the description, but where can they find you?
I live on LinkedIn. Definitely, if you've come this far, connect with me on LinkedIn. Always happy to connect. And then obviously, like, if you want to stay updated, we have a newsletter coming out. I'm joining several podcasts, which will also be shared there and on the website. Instagram, yeah, many ways of connecting nowadays. I'll definitely share the links with you. Thank you so much
Okay,
for having me.
perfect. Amazing. My pleasure. And like we said, well, at least this is the one workshop that we were thinking of when it comes to LinkedIn and how to use LinkedIn. If you're interested in something like this, then go through the link in the description. It'll also be there for the Thrive Tribe, where you can find the upcoming workshops, where you can RSVP. They're free. The workshops are free for everyone. So we hope to see you there. And then I thank you, everyone, for listening up to this point, and I hope it was inspiring and valuable for you.
See you there.
Thanks for joining me today. You made it to the end, so it must have been interesting. If today's episode sparked a thought or an idea, why keep it to yourself? Your takeaway could be the message someone else needs to hear right now. So share it on your socials, tag me, and let us know what spoke to you the most. And in the future, the best takeaways will be bundled into an episode, so you could even be featured. And if you want more insights like this, conversations and workshops around these topics, then make sure to check out the Thrive Tribe for the link in the description. It's a space where personal and professional well-being comes together. And to close off, if you've got an inspiring story yourself or you know someone who does, then please reach out to me, because I'm always eager to connect more with people and share more inspiring stories. Have a wonderful day and see you in the next episode.